Jake Paul, I think when he weighed in for Mike Tyson, was 227 pounds. That is, if I'm not mistaken, a 92 pound weight difference. Almost a 100 pound weight difference. It's insane. That is called one thing. That's called being a bully.
Such a circus.
Yeah. Look, according to BetOnline.ag, Gervonta Davis is favored minus 240, Jake Paul's plus 190. So more than twice the odds for Davis. Davis is a lot smaller, but he's a real serious fighter.
I'm predicting a third round knockout.
Ooh.
Third
round knockout.
He's out of there.
Jake Paul versus Tank Davis. They just announced the fight. What's your instant reaction to that?
I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big. Tank ain't gonna be able to get in from that jab. Jake land one good punch on Tank, it's over with.
Stephen A. Smith, known for his bold takes in sports commentary, made a careful but clear prediction when asked about Paul versus Davis. He believes Tank Davis will edge this fight, not through sheer knockout power, but through ring IQ, discipline, and precision. According to Stephen A., Jake Paul's size is his biggest advantage, but size can also create false confidence. He argues that Tank has already dealt with taller and bigger opponents in the past and found ways to break them down systematically. Stephen sees this fight going the distance, with Tank winning a decision by controlling rounds, making adjustments, and exploiting Paul's defensive gaps.
Gervonta Davis might be every bit as box office as Maverick himself. As exciting, as electric, because this dude performs every time out, y'all. Wherever Davis goes, wherever he fights, fans justifiably follow. He's that special. And Davis is without a doubt one of the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the world right now. Don't you even doubt it.
Legendary trainer and fight philosopher Teddy Atlas focused less on boxing math and more on the moment. In his words, what if Tank lands a big shot? Atlas stresses that despite the size difference, one perfectly timed punch from Davis could end the contest. He highlights how Davis carries power up through divisions, knocking out skilled fighters with one clean connection. Atlas also warned that Jake Paul's chin hasn't been tested against an elite puncher like Tank. His prediction is less about full 12 rounds and more about danger. That Paul may be ahead on points or using his jab well, but a single Davis counter could flip the entire script instantly.
What if Tank Davis, who can punch, who's a hell of a fighter, who is a top 10 pound-for-pound fighter, what if he lands a punch on this bigger guy's chin, right, who's not a professional fighter? What happens? What happens? That's what would sell it. I know the size difference is what creates the problem.
Former 2-time world champion Sean Porter gave one of the more tactical breakdowns. He believed Jake Paul will come out strong in the early rounds, using his size, strength, and youthful energy to try and push Davis backward. But Porter predicts Tank will remain patient, analyzing Paul's rhythm, and then gradually applying pressure. By rounds 6 through 9, Porter expects Davis to take over completely, landing clean counters and forcing Paul to make mistakes under fatigue. His prediction is a wide decision victory for Davis, but he doesn't rule out a late stoppage if Paul fades dramatically.
And the thing that I really appreciate about Tank is he's a dog. That kind of that what he just said, you can put them earmuffs up and go at it. He kind of will assess you as well, and whatever he needs to do, he'll do it, you know, so.
Right. Daniel Cormier is skeptical but somewhat impressed by the Paul versus Davis showdown. He believes Tank Davis is the superior boxer, technically more skillful, but flags the enormous weight gap between Davis and Paul as problematic, calling into question how fair the fight is. Cormier also gives Paul credit for how he's built his brand and willingness to step into the ring with a legitimate champion. Overall, DC seems to lean toward Davis winning easily if the fight is normal, but sees the size factor as a wild card that complicates things.
Boxing gets ridiculous. Gervonta Davis is fighting Jake Paul. Yesterday they had their first press conference. One of the most recognizable things is Jake Paul is huge compared to Gervonta Davis. And 2, Gervonta Davis don't even know what weight they fight, Dean.
Maximum weight of 195 pounds for this exhibition. The fight will be contested over 10 3-minute rounds.
I said it was 190.
The fight is 195 pounds, Tank, as you know.
Shakur Stevenson, a former world champion, weighed in on the potential clash with a measured outlook. He backed Gervonta Tank Davis to win convincingly, describing him as the more skilled and complete fighter. Stevenson predicted that Davis would likely cruise to a decision victory rather than score a knockout, stressing that Paul's size might play a role but wouldn't be enough to change the outcome. While he acknowledged Jake Paul's physical advantages, Stevenson made it clear that Davis' ring IQ and experience should secure him the win.
Maybe he'll fight Jake Paul instead. What do you think of that?
I think that's terrible.
Why?
I mean, I get it because at the end of the day, it's the money business, and you want to make the most money. But from what I'm hearing, he can make more money in a fight with me. And if that's the case, why not fight me?
Sure. Do you think he beats Jake Paul?
Do I think he beats Jake? Yeah. I mean,
there's a huge size advantage, though.
It is, but I think Tank got the skills to make sure he come out on top.
Andre Ward, a Hall of Famer and one of the smartest voices in modern boxing, brought a technical lens to his prediction. He emphasized that while Jake Paul's size is real, boxing has always been about skills, adjustments, and discipline. Ward pointed out that Tank has made careers of neutralizing bigger fighters by cutting off the ring, slipping shots, and landing precision counters. In his breakdown, Paul's jab and physicality could bother Davis early, but eventually Tank would adapt, forcing Paul into exchanges he can't win. Ward's prediction was straightforward. Davis takes the fight by decision, possibly wide, as long as he avoids the temptation to brawl unnecessarily.
I don't hate it. There's a part of me that's interested. I want to see what's the size discrepancy. The sparring partners for these dudes, that's going to be a crazy look for both of them. In the opposite direction. If I can see your sparring partners,
right,
Gervonta, and see Jake Paul's sparring partners.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's going to be a crazy photo op.
Yeah.
But the fight itself, Ariel, I like good fights, and I want to see what's gonna happen. How Gervonta Davis gonna deal with the size discrepancy? How is Jake Paul gonna deal with a guy that's as small as Gervonta Davis? Call me crazy.
Roy Jones Jr. offered his take on a potential Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis fight, leaning toward Davis as the clear favorite. He acknowledged Paul's size and raw power, admitting that in certain situations Paul could land a big shot and change the fight. However, Jones emphasized that Tank's speed, skill, and ability to set up punches give him the advantage. In his view, Davis has the tools to not only outbox Paul, but also stop him if the opportunity presents itself, making him the more likely winner despite the size difference.
To Tank's credit, I'm interested in the Tank Jake Paul exhibition because I know for a fact that if they do it for real, Tank is capable, although he's small, he's capable of knocking Jake Paul out, just like Jake Paul probably capable of knocking him out because he's so much bigger.
So you believe that?
I believe
no
that
doubt about it.
Without a question, if they fight for real. If they don't, if they say, no, well, we're going to take care of Jake, just want him to go through and learn more, then he might not knock him out. You understand me? But if they do it for real, Tank is highly capable of taking Jake Paul out. So the exhibitions that I like to see are ones that either I can mythically look at and say, wow.
Ryan Garcia, who knows Tank Davis firsthand from their fight, added his voice to the mix. He openly picked Davis to win, pointing to Tank's speed, timing, and devastating left hand as too much for Paul to handle. Still, Garcia acknowledged that Paul's size could complicate matters, especially in clinches and exchanges at mid-range. Ryan's prediction was clear. Tank wins, likely by decision, but Paul's physicality might make Davis work harder than usual. Coming from someone who has felt Tank's power in the ring, Garcia's endorsement carried extra weight, reinforcing why so many fighters hesitate to pick against Davis.
Bro, that's a fucking disgrace of a fight.
Yeah.
You know it. Just like Mike Tyson, low-key was a disgrace, but we accepted it. But
yeah,
he was 60 years old. I mean, the casuals don't see the weight difference. They see Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis.
Yeah.
And if Gervonta Davis doesn't fuck up Jake Paul, they're going to think Jake Paul is some pound-for-pound champion type of fighter.
Yeah.
Gervonta Davis, he's actually really small. Like, when I fought him, he's small.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a very unfair fight.
Beyond fighters, the boxing media community has also weighed in. Pundits who regularly score fights leaned heavily towards Davis in their predictions. They pointed out that Paul's success so far has come against non-elite opposition, whereas Davis has consistently performed against world-class fighters. Their expectation is that Davis will control most rounds, land the cleanest shots, and leave little room for debate on the scorecards. Some mentioned Paul might steal a round or two with aggression, but they dismissed any serious chance of him winning on points. The overwhelming majority picked Davis by unanimous decision.
Jake Paul, Tank Davis fight got moved to Miami.
I think Jake wins.
Jake's just so big, dude.
I think Jake wins.
This is different because it's similar. It's similar to Logan versus Mayweather, but
Jake has better
Paul
boxing.
now obviously is way more advanced than where Logan was at that moment in time.
Bringing all the predictions together, a clear picture forms. The overwhelming majority of analysts, fighters, and trainers believe Tank Davis will win, either by decision or late stoppage. They cite his experience, power, and ability to adjust as key advantages. However, nearly every prediction included the same warning. Jake Paul's size and right hand are genuine wild cards. If he lands flush, all bets are off. The consensus is Davis remains the heavy favorite, but the fight carries just enough intrigue to keep fans debating. In boxing, one punch can rewrite everything, and that's what makes this matchup fascinating.